Nu över till ett förinspelad presentation med Clean Industry Solutions och vd Christian Zahler. Please welcome to do your presentation, Christian.
Thank you, Matthias, for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Let me introduce you our company, Clean Industry Solutions, what we do and why we do it. The name is the program, Clean Industry Solution. It's all about clean energy, clean water, to come to a clean industry, to a circular economy. Our company, Clean Industry Solutions, is listed on Nasdaq First North since summer last year. The first day of trading, or the IPO initially, was on Spotlight Stock Exchange. It was in January 2019. And basically the company is an investment company which invests in other companies that provide solutions for a sustainable industry and a circular economy. Currently, the holding owns 100% of Industrial Solar and also 100% of SolarSpring. Those companies are basically spin-offs in the environment of the Fraunhofer Institute for Solar Energy Systems in Freiburg, Germany. This institute is the largest research institute in the field of solar energy in Europe. So the first subsidiary, Industrial Solar, is a full service provider for renewable energy systems, who is offering services from system engineering to full implementation of renewable energy systems into the energy supply of industrial customers. The second company, who is tackling the water topic, has a similar scope. They also offer services from system engineering to full implementation of water treatment systems, and their core technology is membrane distillation and also ultrafiltration. So then we come to the full scope of services of both companies. It starts from consulting services concerning CO2 reduction, energy efficiency measures, energy optimization, via engineering. So we can offer engineering services for heating and cooling systems, direct steam generation with solar energy. When it comes to power generation, we of course do offer a photovoltaic system, but not only the regular flat PV on the rooftop, but also new technologies like solar fences or also photovoltaic carports. We're coming from the heat sector, so we can offer EPC construction of heating, cooling systems, solar process heat systems with concentrating solar thermal, but also complementary technologies like heat pumps or also chillers and storages. Last but not least is the water sector, process water treatment and resource recovery with the technology of SolarSpring. That's how it all started with the Fresnel collector. Actually, I'm in solar energy since about 30 years, and we were doing consulting for power plant companies. And we realized that industry has a tremendous heat demand, and we decided to adapt a power plant technology for industrial application. And that's how we then designed this so-called Fresnel collector. Here you see a photo of a system which is installed on the rooftop of a tobacco factory in Jordan, in Amman. And this system has a thermal power of about 700 kilowatt and delivers steam at 225 degrees C. In general, I would like to say here or emphasize that the majority of people thinks that we only need renewable electricity and then our problem is solved. But as a matter of fact, heat or thermal energy is responsible for a very large fraction of our fossil fuel consumption. And this has to be addressed, especially in industry. And this leads me to the background of our activities. The hard facts. 50% of all emissions are caused by the combustion of fossil fuels to generate thermal energy. 50%. And 30% of all emissions are caused by industry. This is as much as the complete transport sector, as all cars, ships, planes together are causing emissions. So industry is a major culprit in this regard. And also interesting in this context is that 80% of all industries that need heat or thermal energy for their production line also use water. And there you get an idea of the synergies between the two subsidiaries, between the two companies. Industry needs heat and water. That's also, or energy and water, that's the so-called energy-water nexus. So let's have a closer look on this industrial heat demand. Here you see on the pie chart on the left-hand side the energy demand of industry, the fossil fuel consumption of industry, or primary energy demand of industry, which is about 1/3. And then you see that only 26% are used in the form of electricity. So industry needs about 3 times as much thermal energy than electric energy. So we have to address this heat demand in industry. How is the situation today? So this slide is a few years old, not too old, but there hasn't changed too much. So 45% of the heat demand are covered with coal, and about 30% with natural gas. This is declining for obvious reasons recently, and 15% with oil. When we analyze this heat demand deeper in terms of temperature ranges, then we find that about 30% of the thermal energy are required in the low temperature range up to 150 degrees C, then another 22% in the medium temperature range up to 400. And then we have almost half of the heat demand in the high temperature range above 400 degrees C. So who is using all that heat? Some examples here. So this list is just the tip of the iceberg. This list could be extended over meters, but most important branches are chemical industry. They need a lot of heat also, so as well in the low temperature heat demand as in the medium temperature range. Food and beverage industry, that's easy to understand when you think of your daily food consumptions, from bread over things that come in cans or glasses, beverage like beer. It's all produced with heat. Other sectors like machinery also use heat for certain production processes, mining, textile industry, wood, and so on and so on. And just to give you an idea of the order of magnitude, these bars use the unit exajoule, and you see here the translation to kilowatt hours in billions of kilowatt hours. So we're talking about huge dimensions. How is this going to develop in the future? These graphs are taken from a study, an outlook, a perspective to 2040. And you see on the left-hand side the OECD energy demand. And you see it's stagnating. This is due to energy efficiency measures, but also to like a slower growth of the economies in the OECD countries. And on the right-hand side, you see the non-OECD countries, and you see a very steep growth here. This is understandable because in these parts of our world, the growth is going to happen. The population is growing, wealth is growing, and you see here countries like India, Latin America, Middle East, Africa. These are all very sunny regions, and they need energy for the industry, and most of the energy which is required is heat. So this is the market. There's also a synergy or a parallel development of the water usage. So in this graph, you see the global freshwater use in comparison with the emissions of carbon dioxide. And you see that in the last 100 years, it is growing basically in parallel. This is also easily understood, and it also shows that we have to tackle both problems: energy or reduction of emissions and water. I mean, there is a lot of water on our planet, but we do need clean water for human consumption and also for industry. And we have to make sure that resources are not basically dumped in the wastewater streams, but resources have to be recovered to protect the environment and to improve the material efficiency in industry. Let me give an overview of our technologies. As I said before, the flagship of industrial solar, our solar subsidiary, is this Fresnel collector, for which we currently get a very high demand, many requests due to this gas shortage caused by the war in Ukraine. Suddenly, this technology is economically viable. It's very attractive even with current gas prices. And we can reduce the gas consumption and the emissions with this technology for process heat and industry in a temperature range from, let's say, 140, 150 degrees C up to 400 degrees C and in the megawatt range. But we do have a lot of complementary technologies around this system, so we can address more customers in different geographic regions with different demands. So, of course, we offer photovoltaic to generate electricity from solar radiation, solar thermal to generate lower temperatures, like warm water, hot water systems, but also storages like electric storages or heat storages. Heat pumps are very interesting nowadays. They can also provide heat and cold to industry. The brute force approach is the conversion of electricity to heat with resistance heating. This can also be a solution under certain circumstances. Water treatment, of course, but also cooling. So very often industry needs heat and cold, and for cooling you can use compression chillers or absorption chillers, and you can also use cold storages to reduce peaks. So this is the full overview of our portfolio. Here you can see the references in which countries both companies have already made projects, engineering projects, or realized systems. And you see we have been very active in the past. Yellow is industrial solar, blue is SolarSpring, and the hatched areas are countries where both companies have references. Some example of technologies that are not so commonly known. Many companies already have photovoltaic on the rooftop. The rooftop is already covered. No further area available. So here, for example, we can offer solar fences. These fences use so-called bifacial PV modules that generate electricity when they receive or absorb solar radiation from the front or the back side of the module. Another technology that is also important for industry with no further available rooftop area is PV carports. So there you get shading for your cars or trucks, protection from rain, and you at the same time you can generate electricity to charge your vehicles or to supply electricity to the factory. Now I'm coming back to our flagship technology, the Fresnel collector. So here you see the principle. It's a linear concentrating system. Those primary mirrors are uniaxially tracked. They are concentrating the solar radiation onto a so-called vacuum absorber tube. And in this tube, different types of heat transfer fluids can be circulated. Pressurized water, meaning water under pressure so that it does not evaporate, or steam, so we can partly evaporate the water in the absorber tube and provide steam. Or for higher temperatures, we can also use thermal oil. With thermal oil, we can reach temperatures of up to 400 degrees C. This absorber tube was designed for power plant applications, is very efficient at high temperature because it has very little heat losses. It's a modular solution. It's designed for a power range from, let's say, 500 kilowatt to double-digit megawatt. And it's big enough to meet the energy demand of industry, and it's small enough to be installed on large flat rooftops of industrial buildings. Integration of this technology is very simple and straightforward, especially with steam. So the solar steam generation system is generating steam and injecting steam into the steam grid of the company. And basically, when the set pressure is maintained by the solar steam generation system, the fossil-fired boiler does not start firing, and fossil fuel and emissions are reduced. Another reference from us is here to be seen. It's installation of air collectors on a rooftop of a Pfizer facility. Those air collectors are generating temperatures up to 100 degrees C. They have basically an integrated freezing protection and also overheating protection, because with air as heat transfer fluid, there is no problem with freezing or overheating. They have very high efficiency, very low latency. So that's a very interesting system for hot air applications. And last but not least, another example of technologies engineered by our company Industrial Solar are heat pumps. Heat pumps are currently being developed for higher and higher temperatures for industrial applications. In the private sector for space heating, they already have a rather large market share. And there are now new heat pumps available that can generate higher temperatures, up to 160 degrees C, eventually even more in the near future. And this is, of course, one important technology to cover the heat demand in industry. Now let me show you a couple of slides from our other subsidiary, SolarSpring. Their core technology is membrane distillation. You all know this if you have an outdoor jacket with a membrane. It could be Sympatex or Gore-Tex. So basically the hot feed solution evaporates through the membrane and then condensates on a condensation surface. What are the advantages of this technology? It's a very durable technology, very easily operated. It can easily be scaled, and it can be used for many, many applications. It has competitive economics, and it can be used, for example, in metal industry to recycle acids, to recover valuable resources like gold in the electronic industry or nickel. It can also be used for brine treatment. So a lot of industrial wastewater streams are contaminated with salt. So it's possible to extract salt from those wastewater streams. Another interesting application is ammonia removal from wastewater treatment systems. Ammonia is also a kind of a new fuel in the future, together with hydrogen. So with membrane distillation, ammonia can be removed from water that leaves wastewater treatment systems, and this ammonia can be used as fuel, and it prevents that ammonia acts as a fertilizer and causes plants in the water to grow. But membrane distillation can also be used in the conservative fossil sector. For example, it can be used in the fracking sector, and it can be used to reduce the wastewater and to purify the water again. So let me come to our current issue of units. We're currently carrying out a rights issue of units with a volume of around 23 million SEK. Each unit consists of one new share and one warrant. The subscription price is about 1.5 SEK per unit, corresponding to 1.5 SEK per share. The warrants are issued free of charge, and we have received underwriting commitments of about 65% of the rights issue. So for further detail, please see the memorandum on our website. So why are we an interesting case? Why should you invest in us and support us? We are addressing a global market with a tremendous growth, not only a growth potential, but really a real growth. We have a very strong order intake. Like in last months, we had an order intake of around €1 million. We're having a huge demand of green tech solutions currently due to the climate crisis. And also the war in Ukraine is, of course, accelerating the replacement of fossil fuel. There are many new regulations and guidelines on the way, of which our company will benefit. So commercial buildings have to have renewable energy systems, and we can provide systems tailor-made, and we are well positioned, and we offer good solutions for customers that want to become green and reduce their emissions. Thank you so much for listening, and now I'm looking forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, Christian, and I'm with you, and I really think your time is now. So right now, like you mentioned, you're offering a shared issue with a subscription period that ends in just a few days, the 14th of October. Upon full subscription, you will bring in 23 million Swedish kronas before issuing costs. What is your plans for the issue proceeds?
Yeah. The proceeds will be mainly or primarily be used to finance the growth of the subsidiaries and as working capital for new customer projects. But also we have quite some public funded R&D projects that we have to co-finance, and there are also new collaborations on the way. And additionally, we're going to invest in joint ventures in target markets, as well as in related complementary technologies to broaden the offering of the company and to broaden the product portfolio. We also expect that a stronger financial position combined with an increased market demand will have a positive impact on discussions and negotiations with current and potential customers.
Okay, thank you. And you gave us a hint on why Clean Industry Solution is a good investment. But according to you, what are the main reasons?
I mean, as you said, when not now, when then? I mean, we're working since many years. Our solutions had a tough time, or we had a tough time when fossil fuel was inexpensive. And now it's changing, it's rapidly changing. Suddenly fossil fuel is very expensive. And basically everybody is now aware that climate change is real, that it's happening, that we have to act. And we are here, we are well trained, we have a very good know-how. There's a tremendous growth currently. We're being bombed with requests every day. We have an experienced team. We have a strong order intake. And yeah, basically, yes. So this is the time. We are offering the right technologies, and it's a huge, a huge problem to be solved. Industry is one of the biggest polluters, causing 1/3 of the emissions, and we have to act. And we would like to do this, and we hope that we get enough financial support to work on this huge task.
All right, so finally, if we were to look 5 years ahead into the future, what is the status of Clean Industry Solution by then?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I could imagine that in 5 years we have acquired further companies, have further subsidiaries with complementary technologies that create synergies and add value to our current structure. technologies might range from hydrogen or synthetic fuels to storages for electric and thermal energy. I also imagine that we will team up with companies all over the world that are nowadays still selling fossil-fired systems. So they are representing the old world, and we are representing the new world, a new era. And I think it's a good approach to bring their market access together with our new technology. And I think it's a win-win situation for the companies that are now selling fossil-fired boilers, if they help us to bring our solutions into the market. And I would imagine that we build a global network of distribution and service partners and grow the company rather swiftly.
Clean Industry Solution CEO Christian Zahler, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Matthias.